I'm Aidan Cuff. I run goldenplec.com and we kind of cover basic news, reviews, interviews, competitions, that kind of stuff, the whole scope, focusing primarily on most of Ireland Irish acts. We don't really review the international albums, so that we only kind of focus on the Irish acts. So the albums that come out through us are almost entirely Irish. The news, we try to cover it all the way from the big O2 gigs and the Olympia all the way down to the smaller venues and pub gigs, as long as the bands are able to get in touch with us and let us know about the gigs, that kind of stuff. It's pretty all encompassing. It's a pretty big job. The kind of stuff that you'd see from like State.ie and Hot Press and that kind of stuff, we're trying to do that on an amateur basis, but as a hobby of mine, I've been running it for the last 10 years, and it's great fun to get to know these different bands and interview them and see the range of music that we get throughout it. So that's pretty much Golden Plec.
I'm Niall. I'm from Niall9.com. The site has been going for 7 years next month, and it's a one-man operation. So I'm selfish in that I only cover stuff that I like, and only have time to cover stuff that I like. So yeah, my kind of thing is just writing as much as possible about new music and the kind of stuff that I want to. When I started, all I wanted to do was basically turn people onto music. Same way you would if you were talking to your friend and be like, okay, you should check this out. So it still kind of holds true in that way, that's basically what I do, is like, okay, if you come to my site, hopefully you'll discover something, or you trust my judgment and you'll find something that you like. So yeah, I've been doing that 7 years, and yeah, it's great fun. And
I'm Owen O'Sullivan. I run thepointofeverything.com, which is based in Cork. I'm quite a baby compared to these two guys because it's only like 2.5 years old. But it covers new music. I've been focusing more on Irish music lately, and kind of Cork based as well. So that's me.
How are you doing? My name is Gary Myler. I write for the G-Man blog. It is a blog going about 4 years, I think it is now. It started off, I moved down to Cork as well, where Owen lives, about 12 years ago. Yes. And I pretty much wanted to keep my friends up to date on the music that I listen to, and I set up this site completely personalised, just kind of the same thing as now, just want to tell people, my friends, that this is what I listen to, I love it, it's amazing. And it kind of snowballed from there, really. It just got more and more into it. The more gigs that I went to, ended up interviewing bands, some of the amazing bands that nearly dream come true just to chat to them. And it's just kind of snowballed from there, really. I focus on everything, so I try to do everything. That's why I'm exhausted all the time. So international bands, local bands, national bands, if you're good enough and I love you, I'll stick you on the site. So yeah, that's me.
Let's talk about what music blogs do and the role that they play in. I mean, the music industry traditionally had a very difficult entry point. You had to get a publisher or a record deal or something like that, and there was quite a chasm between playing your local club and getting a record deal. Music blogs have become a sort of different, have created a whole new level here, that bands can get a certain amount of attention and either continue to go up to the giant level, or at least exist enough to sell some 7-inches or make some money to go into the studio or bring a few more people out to their gigs. Can you talk about the role that you guys have sort of played in that, and how a blog, why a band should care about getting on music blogs and music sites, and how that's sort of changed the landscape in the last 5 to 7 years?
Sure. I think with music, especially you start off unsigned music, it is word of mouth is so important, and the internet has become part of word of mouth, and anyone's able to type anything up on the internet. It could be insulting, it could be praising a band who you don't think should be that good. But I think with blogs and online e-zines and things like that, people come back because they found out about a band they never heard about on that blog, and then they go, oh well, I like that band, so I might come back and check them out. And the more that happens, it's kind of a snowball effect, really. If a band's name is popping up on all sorts of blogs and e-zines, as opposed to a band that's not, you have a better chance of hearing from them, obviously, and just trust in other people's judgment, really, and it kind of gets a band's name out there. That's all that matters in the end. If the band is good enough, you just need to hear about them. Like, there could be the most amazing band ever in, I don't know, over in Colombia or something like that in South America, but if you don't hear about them, you'll never know. So there has to be an entry point for that band to get heard, and I think that's what blogs provide, kind of the ground entry, really, into the music scene. And yeah.
Well, for ourselves with Golden Plaque, like we because we're covering the news more so than anything else, and especially like band videos and streams and stuff like that, we're trying to put everything under people's noses, so that even a small band, if you have nobody promoting it and you only have a few likes on Facebook and a few followers on Twitter, you can still put it out to whatever amount of followers we have and how many ever retweets we're able to put out to, and maybe put some bums in seats, sell some tickets, get a couple, notch up a couple of video views on YouTube, that kind of stuff. And it's that kind of stuff that kickstarts people, like say the Cast of Cheers, that they started off with a Bandcamp, send it out to a couple of blogs, and it lit up from there. And that kind of stuff is happening more and more and more now. And if you're not on the influential sites where people trust your opinion and the whole sphere of blogs that we have going on now, because there are a lot of blogs there, but it's who's trusted, who's actually giving you good coverage. I mean, someone could write a couple of sentences, and who's actually imparting opinion is two different things. And when someone has an opinion about you, and it's a good opinion, and people trust that, it can turn a lot of people onto it. And that's one of the reasons why I follow Niall's blog, because I trust his opinion, and when he tells me something's worth listening to, I'll stick it on.
Thanks, Aidan. I guess for me, it's a case of, it used to be a very high barrier in terms of getting your music out there, and this idea and this very singular narrative about how you would get your music to a label and how you turn it into a career. It can be a bit different now, and blogs are part of that. Certainly, just the internet in general is part of that. Being able to put up your music and have it heard instantly was something that you couldn't do that easily 10 years ago. And because of that means that there's so much music out there, so you need people like us to kind of go through it and give it a filter in a way, because anyone can put their music out there, and that doesn't necessarily mean that all of it's good. So in terms of blogs, then there's so many, like you said, there was 850 blogs on the Hype Machine. It's a serious amount. So if you have to find those kind of curators or filters that you trust in order to discover new music. And I think for bands in that regard, what they would be generally, what they should focus on is trying to find those bloggers that maybe could help them in terms of all those kind of things that Aidan talked about, but also if it depends on what you want to get out of it. If your plan is to go and get a major label deal, we've seen plenty of examples in the last 4 or 5 years of bands who have done that, who have used blogs in that way. I would think of people like Marina and the Diamonds, and certainly Lana Del Rey last year, a couple of things like that.
Lana Del Rey came from the other direction. Had the major label, then used blogs.
Well, that's what I mean. But they used blogs first. Yeah. The first step on the ladder or the platform was, and because blogs are often seen as kind of a very cool resource, and they have a lot of integrity. So I think in that way, people trust them a lot more. A lot of the times, they're one person's opinion. So it's a very, very different system, and generally, being featured on one blog is great, but there's always a knock-on effect in terms of bloggers read other blogs, other people. The more times you're mentioned in blogs, then more chance you will be heard by industry people. Like Dev said, there are people who listen to the Hype Machine looking for music for films and TV, and people who are looking to sign, whether it be a small label or a big label. So it's about getting yourself out there. I think for me, we're kind of facilitators for that. If it doesn't happen for the band after that, then there's not really much we can do about that. That's for them to capitalise on it, and whatever. It depends on what they want to do. A lot of the other thing to remember is that a lot of musicians, when they put their music out there, then maybe at the moment they're not actually going, okay, well, I want to do something with this. And a lot of it is, you know, us, we kind of find stuff and I go, well, if I like it, I'll put it up. But like that person might not be ready to be like, okay, I want to make a career of this. It might not even be their thing at all. So that's the flip side of it. You know, it's kind of like you can gain a bit of traction in terms of getting gigs by people, the kind of people who read the blogs that we have here. So yeah, it was a bit long-winded, but there you go.
I think that it's good as well for new bands just starting out to just kind of go outside their zone of comfort. You know, like you can be a brand new band starting out and you can play like 5 gigs down your local and, you know, you can think that you're the best around sort of thing. But then, you know, you send your music out to people and then you're getting completely unbiased opinions, you know. So I think that it's just nice to just get other people's opinion, you know, just people online who you don't know.
Now that we've established that you do want to get your band on these blogs, let's cover the basics of how you're going to make that happen. Let's talk about the 101 of how do you find blogs to pitch your music to, and then how do you pitch them when you've found them?
As a band?
As an artist or a manager or...
I suppose that if you're an Irish band, like, I mean, you should probably just look internally first, you know. I mean, there are some artists who have gotten featured on the likes of Accelerator and No Fear of Pop and stuff who haven't gotten featured on Irish blogs. I assume that they're just emailing those blogs and stuff. I don't know if they've got PR guys behind them, but I think that just emailing your music around, you know, somebody somewhere is going to pick it up and eventually, like, it'll probably get on the hype machine, and then you might eventually, you know, like as a blogger you might see somebody else blogging about it. Like I did yesterday, I put up a band that I had seen on, an Irish guy who I had seen on an English blog, and I just blogged about it and it got a couple of hits. So I think that just email your music around, but look internally maybe first.
Fundamentally though, how are you going to, do you guys want to, I mean, you must get hundreds of emails a day, right?
Yeah.
How do you filter those? How do you decide which ones you're going to open, which ones you're going to listen to?
I used to try and open them all, now I can't. So you have to make a judgment call in certain regards. I mean, if something locally pops up, I'll always try and open it and listen to it. Mm-hmm. That doesn't necessarily mean it'll get more featured or whatever, but more likely to be featured. But for me, yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. I've had to, you know, I get a lot of like weird electro stuff that I just know it has Z at the end of the name and like YOLO and shit like that. And you're like, I'm definitely not going to feature this. You just know. And like 4 or 5 years ago, I remember a lot of it used to be like kind of the flip side, American kind of folk, and a lot of kind of indie stuff that just, there was so much of it out there. And it's kind of flipped now the other way. You get a lot of like weird, check out my dubstep tracks and all this kind of stuff. So, you know, for me, it's a personal touch, certainly, because I got an email a few days ago that just said, "Dear blogger." It was like, okay, you're not even trying. So like that's in like instant, like, okay, well, I know you're sending this. You're not even pretending you're sending this out to one person or whatever. You're sending it out to thousands of people. And actually, I did a blogger band tips for FMC. It's on the FMC website called Blogger Band Tips. And the first one I said was that I would use sites like the Hype Machine to find if a band wants to get featured. You have to look and find blogs that would feature your kind of music first. There's no point in sending me those kind of electro jams with a Z, you know, that kind of way. It's just like, it's not really what I'm into. And there's so many blogs out there. I don't expect everyone to know exactly what I'm into, but you're much better off, and I've seen and heard and talked to people who have had a much better return on putting the effort in and getting people's names, looking into their blogs, looking at what they're featured. And, you know, there's a flip side of that where people kind of go, "Oh yeah, I really like X, which you posted yesterday," you know, that kind of way. Which is like, at least they're trying in a way, but it's like, you know, it's like a generic template. You can almost churn it out. You just like put in a name. But it's just, yeah, for me, it's a personal touch. If someone emails me one-to-one, and you can do a thing in Gmail that kind of tells you that as well, then I'm more likely to look at that and listen to that track or check out that band.
That's a good blogger tip, right? How to filter emails. When someone emails you, do you want attachments? Do you want Bandcamp links? Do you want videos? What's good to put in an email?
I think Niall has it in that that link that he plugged there nicely without going into too many detail. But you have to think of, like you said, you might get hundreds of emails a day, so you don't want 4 megs, things like that coming in. So links are fine. But nail on the head, really, with there are so many blogs out there. Bands really have to think about what they're trying to achieve. And like Niall said, if you're going to email blogs who... I'm a lot into kind of folk and stuff like that, but then a band can send you, just death metal or something like that. And if they think about that, if I really wanted to, I could go and review that. And not knowing that much about death metal and take it a shred, and that's up on the internet then. So that is one thing to really be wary of. And the personal touch is definitely the big thing, because you nearly feel like someone's going, oh yeah, listen to it there, and I don't care what you think. But why'd you send me the email in the first place? Then, so in short bursts and getting more of effect out of sending your links and your photographs, and looking professional as well, because we put an awful lot of time into listening to music and putting the sites together and getting links and things like that. And if someone's just going to forward you, I got a similar email like that blogger one recently. I've Got Music is the start of one of my emails, and it's the same as if you hand a CV into a company written in pencil, and just scribble. It's the same thing, because you just look at it and you go, well, then they don't care. Like, they don't care. Why should I care? Even if it's the greatest album ever, you're not even going to listen to it properly, or listen to it at least with a tainted ear, where like, I'm going to not like this, And you have to think about that when you are firing emails out, because even if you don't get a reply all the time, it might go up on the internet, and then once it's up on the internet on someone else's site, you can't take it back down. And it's the same with... Yes. For Curious Broadcast, the whole ceiling has fallen in there. But it is kind of like that. The same with demos now. I think demos, it's a real strange thing with the internet now, because if a demo goes up on the internet, you can't just pawn it off as it's just a demo anymore, because if it's just absolutely rubbish or the production is terrible, it's up on the internet to listen to, and even if you come back with an amazing album 2 years later, that's still in everyone's mind. So if it's just a decent album a couple of years later, you've already heard the crap demo and gone, it's a bit better than that, but it's still...
So a band really needs to think about what they're sending out before they send it out.
As soon as you're online, as soon as you're online, you can be judged, and I don't mean that in a like X Factor way. You know what I mean? It's about you have to think about putting up demos and that kind of thing. Is like, for example, people who email and they're really excited and this is brilliant, and they go, I just finished a track an hour ago. Can you take a listen? It was like, go away, have a cup of tea, have a sleep, maybe think about it. Like, it'll still be there tomorrow. There's no rush. Those kind of things. It's like just thinking about what it is you're trying to portray in terms of, because as soon as you put something out there, then people can start forming opinions about your music and what you do.
First impressions.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. Yeah.
How about as far as when you receive an email? I mean, this is something that I think artists and managers and bands need to think about. At what point should they bring on a PR, and are you more likely or less likely to actually open something that's come from a PR versus the artist themselves?
I mean, I think there's always PR companies that you maybe are more likely to open than others, but it depends. When a band is getting a PR company, then it's expected to be at a certain level in terms of like what they're expecting to get out of it. So I mean, here in Ireland, I wouldn't say straight away get a PR company. If that's what you're trying to do, you can do these things. If you're wise and smart about these things, get a list together of the people you want to contact, all that kind of thing. We're a small country. You don't need to spend like €1,000 on a PR company who maybe won't give you the return that you're looking for. Because it's about, everyone has to build something up first before they're at the point where there is something to offer. And especially for me, it's international. And what On there was saying about bands who get featured abroad, I think that's a really, really healthy and kind of exciting prospect, and I've seen it much more in the last year and a half. And I think it's great that bands are looking outside of Ireland first. And what that really means is that those are the bloggers that they identify with, they want to be featured on. And why not? It gets them out to a different audience. And generally, people notice that kind of stuff, and people, in a certain way, I mean, we thought this was a discussion that was going on a while back about Foz when he was featured on, I think it was Accelerator, and it was like, well, I mean, people were like, oh, he's made it. He was outside of Ireland all of a sudden. It was like, and it was kind of funny because it wasn't really true because people were paying attention at the same time. But there's a perception of, there's so many, it's not just Ireland, you can go anywhere you want. You can talk to anyone, And I think that's a really important tip. If you're, if you were covering death metal, there aren't that many death metal Irish bloggers, so you wouldn't go and send it to the local crowd, because they probably know who you are anyway, that kind of way. So.
A very basic question, but what should someone send to you? You guys need to post stuff. If you're going to write about a band, you're not just going to write a paragraph. You're going to put up photos, MP3s, or something. What content is going to make your life easier in an email? If someone's sending you an email, what do you want in there?
Well, for myself anyway, with the level of content, 'cause we don't really have a filter on what we do. We kind of try to cover as much of everything that comes in. But the most missed things are a square thumbnail sized image that you could actually use of a decent quality and of the band. A lot of time you get a very, very, very high res image, and you end up having to resize that image before it gets anywhere near your blog. I mean, that's time consuming, and if something takes time, it makes you less likely to want to cover that band. If you're sending a single in, you can attach the single to the email because it's only small. But I wouldn't send. I mean, the amount of people have tried to send me albums and EPs and attach two to an email, second email, third email, fourth email, and it just gets so cumbersome. I
I don't like this band anymore.
Yeah, I see. Twitter tags and Facebook tags, because those of us that do our own social networking, we tend to tag the bands in both Facebook and Twitter so that they're visible to both the bands themselves to know that they've been either talked about or reviewed, but also that anybody that's reading our stuff can see, oh, that's their Facebook and that's their Twitter. I'll follow them and like them on that. So those kind of things they're important to me anyway, because they make up the composition of how we're going to write these big news pieces or reviews and how we're going to treat the band. And if those things are missing, that means I have to go search for your Twitter, search for your Facebook. That's time consuming, and that because I don't do this as a real job, I'm probably going to ignore that email or at least put it to the bottom of the pile.
Yeah, I think you got to remember that most bloggers aren't doing this for a living, so make their job as easy as possible. For me, I would say, I don't like attachments at all, but like I said, every blogger is going to be different. So offering different options, offer a SoundCloud stream, a download link, maybe via Dropbox or something like that. And I would always say like an 800 pixel wide image, kind of ready-made for you there. All the PR links, all the links to your social media and a bio, and that will pretty much cover you there, because at least you're giving everyone an option. You're not like, oh, here's a 140 megabyte download of our album, or so yeah, just making it as easy as possible, I think, will really, really help people, because it's not, for most people it's just a hobby, so you got to make it easy, because it's like the thing you do every evening, instead of like reading a book or watching something for an hour on TV,
Unless you're trying to play the mysterious card, where it's just send the music and don't send any bio or any picture and just let the myth build, like a couple bands have started to figure out. Like there's a guy called Unknown who's like just been putting out music on YouTube, and like people only have the YouTube video now, and like no info, nobody knows who he is, and suddenly I think I saw him, I don't know what I saw him described as, but I was like, no, that's not a genre.
Even ungoogleable band names, like there's bands coming out with absolutely bizarre names because they're unique and they think that they're going to be easily found, and then you can't actually find them when you go looking for them, and it's bizarre. You get these emails in with this band name and it's unique, congratulations, but you can't find them anywhere, and you can't find their Twitter, you can't find their Facebook, you can't find an image of them, and then what do you do? Archive, gone. It's not going to get posted. So you have to do yourself your own favours, build up your own following by making yourself findable. If you can't be found on the internet, if I can't find you on the internet and I want to find you, who else is going to find you?
While we're on the subject of no-nos, any other sort of cardinal sins that we should cover?
For me, it's been, because we get so many emails, it's a case of like not hassling people too much and saying, did you get that? Of course I got your email. Of course I got it. It's not like a letter that didn't get delivered because the postman got really drunk and like left it somewhere, you know, which has happened before. But yeah, it's those kind of things. Like, just, you know, be conscious and mindful that, you know, you're taking up somebody's time every time you email them. For me, I'm very like, I have a load of unread emails, and that's how I work. I work through them and then leave them there, and then delete the ones I definitely know I'm not going to be interested in. And it generally takes me like 4 or 5 days to get back or get through the whole list, because it builds up all the time, and you're always like deleting stuff and bringing stuff back in. So yeah, just not being hassled too much about things, or, you know, and sometimes I'll be very straightforward and get back to somebody like, sorry, it's not for me, and they're like, cool, that's fine. Don't ask them then to write about it still, if it's a blog and you know who I am and they know that I don't write negative things about, you know, just don't ask for it. I don't care. Like, I know he's any PR is good PR, but in this case, definitely not. Yeah.
I suppose you have to take into account that you want the person who's getting the email to actually listen to it. I do get, myself personally, I get a lot of emails. For your listening pleasure drives me insane, because, you know, I think you need to warm to the person, because I want to put time into doing something on before I even, you know, if I like the music and stuff like that. So I think it's just taken into account that there's a lot of work going into actually listening to it, and unless your album is amazing, you have to listen to it a couple of times. You know, you have to put links up, you have to investigate it, and again, going back to it's what you must do, but it still goes into a no-no, is it when you don't have the links and information, just letting us work as easily as possible, because if you send an email with everything that you need, well, there's a better chance it's going up. What it all comes back down to it is you have to get the music right, really. You know, you could have all the PR teams in the world, well, I don't know, that's some people, but you can have all the PR team in the world, but you have to get that kind of right. So if someone, it's kind of even goes back to Niall's point, is that if they're hassling you to listen to it, well, there could be the chance the person doesn't like the music, you know, and if you're going to badger for possibly a negative response, you could get that, but again, going back to it's up online, you could get it up online, because if you keep asking and asking and asking and asking someone, all right, I will review it, and don't like it, and it goes up online then. So you have to think about, again, going back to what your plan is, I suppose.
You mentioned the time commitment, listening to music. A band you've never heard before, would you rather be introduced to them with just 1 or 2 songs, or would you like them to link you to an entire album? Or is that a little overwhelming for a band you've never listened to before?
Yeah, I think it is best. I think the links thing does work, but if there's a bit of time put into the email, as in, I think you would like this song and here's a link to it, you know, that makes it easy for us just to click on the button and listen to it instantly there, and then you can have another link for the whole album, or even it opens up a dialogue where I go, oh, I really like that album, and I can email them back. To make it a bit more personal, I suppose, rather than just this conveyor belt of emailing 1,000 people in the one send out, you know. Because I think once you, like just listening to music, once you have a personal connection with a band, it gets a bit easier. And, you know, even your favourite bands, when they bring out a new album, there's more of a chance you will like the album because you have some sort of connection with them. And I think it works the same in all walks of life, as in, if someone makes a personal connection with you through the email, there's a better chance of you reading it and listening to it, and working from there, really. So yeah, I think it's all about thinking that you're actually just emailing a human being something, so how they would pick up on it.
Cool. I think we should throw it out to some questions at this point, unless anything else that we've sort of missed so far.
Anybody? Do you know everything now? Could you just, I'm going to fill the questions until someone gets brave enough. Could you go across the panel? Niall, I know you only write about music you like, so in terms of what do you see as the difference between blogging and reviewing, and does your blog review, or do you just chat about the music you like?
It's a link of things, really. I feel the reviewing takes a lot more time. But if a band is just starting off, like going back, just even if you've one YouTube video, you know, you can put that up. Oh, this band are bringing out a new album. You know, it could be a really short link, and that's just the way I write my blog. Anyway, is I just want people to actually listen to the music, because I could say anything in the world. You know, if I have the most flowery language, or, you know, James Joyce kind of esque words on it, it doesn't matter if the music's crap. Then, you know, that's the way it is. So when it comes down to it, all you want on the the blog is Bandcamp links or YouTube videos so that people can listen to the music. I suppose a lot of the words then is to get them to do it, but yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that now. But yeah, when it comes down to it, is listening to the music is the main thing. So when that goes up, but gig guides and news of gigs and new albums in the reckoning, I suppose. I kind of, whatever catches my eye really goes up on the blog, and gig guides and things, so people just know to go to bands and when tickets are coming out, because your favourite band could sell tickets and you mightn't have heard of it, and it's tough to get them sometimes. So yeah, there's no, with my one anyway, there's a couple of things that do pop up again, like interviews and stuff like that, but there's no real set form to it, even though you might be different.
Well, for ourselves, the level of stuff that we do is pretty expansive. So we have a small team of kind of volunteer writers, and they pick up albums from a pretty big list. I mean, because the albums come in thick and fast and on a continual basis, and it's January, February, all the way through to December. It never stops. So we try to. I only ask of the guys that are reviewing the albums that they review it honestly. We would be of the case where we would critically review, and whilst the large portion of albums will get positive reviews, there are ones that don't get positive reviews, and from time to time you get the band contacting you, kind of going, I got good reviews here, there, and everywhere. It's one person reviewing an album, and it's his or her opinion, and it's not personal. It's just, you sent the music to us in good faith to ask us what we thought. This person thought that, so we published it. And okay, so it's not great news for you, but you might get a great review off, say, Niall or the other lads. I mean, it's a very, very open thing. It's different for every single person that listens to music, and everything is subjective. So we just try to cover everything as honestly as possible. And like, if you, the next week, we might have given you a bad review of your EP, say, and you send us the next week with your, say, gig that's happening down in Cork. We'll publish it. We'll post the news, because it's not personal. It's about promoting the band and helping them put ticket sales down, and just to see if we can help you in any way possible. Like.
Well, for me, I guess, yeah, like we said, it's stuff that I like. So I like to think of it as kind of a stream of music that people maybe who they can discover, or if it's the gig guide, it's in terms of informing people in terms of what's good. So it's generally, I don't really bring a lot of criticism into it myself, because I would maybe do that elsewhere. But yeah, I just want it to be a catalogue of amazing, awesome tunes generally. So that would be what I'd go for.
I think that there's been a lot of talk about like the death of blogs and blogs dying. I think that that's because people have kind of seen that there are some blogs who just kind of constantly churn out stuff. Like they have 10 songs every single day or something, and there's so much to get through that alone. But like, I mean, for like the three of us anyway, and Aidan, like, I mean, you have to go through the music yourself, and you have to be able to stand behind the music too. So I don't really know where I'm going with that. Sorry.
If you have written about a band that you liked before, or you liked their first song, is it good for them to keep feeding you content saying, hey, we've got a couple gigs next week, we're making a new video? Are you going to keep writing about that band to track their progress because it's a band that you like? Or is it going to be too overwhelming to get all of that sort of constant flow of news and information from them?
I like doing that. I like seeing a band grow and evolve and stuff, and eventually, like you see their first single, and then they have their first EP, and then it's their first video. It's like, it's cool. Like, I mean, they're doing the whole what they want to do and everything, and then culminates in their first album, and then I suppose you kind of let it go then, sort of thing, because there's only so much you can do then. But I mean, I like doing that. I like seeing a band grow. I mean, especially in Ireland, like seeing someone who played a support gig down in a tiny venue in Cork, and now they're releasing an album and they're getting featured on the likes of Golden Plek, and they're getting reviewed in Hot Press and stuff. It's cool to see that progress and say, I might have helped them along a little bit.
Yeah, again, it's thinking about what you're doing. Like, you're delighted to get an email every couple of weeks on progress, unless daily emails. It's nuts. It's just going to drive you nuts. But it's kind of part of the blog. Like, when it comes down to it, blogs it's a very personal thing. It's just our opinion, and it's great because you're digging through so much music, when you do come across something that you think is a gem, you will stick with it, because a lot of the time it's because nobody else has been talking about it. So you you get a personal attachment to them, and you want the band to do well. And I think that's a thing as well, that, you know, all the time that goes into writing about a band, that when they start bringing out other great stuff, that you want them to do well. The whole point of it is for people to listen to the music. Like, there's no, like, you don't ever want to write anything bad about someone or ever anything like that. So you're on the band sides when it comes down to it. So they have to make it easier for you to like them as well. That's usually the music. So well, when I like a band, I will stick with them. I'll post regularly enough. Yeah.
G-Man, we wrote a new verse today. Would you like to post about it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Just want to add to that as well, in terms of because there is so many music blogs now, I'm finding that there are situations where I maybe wouldn't feature something that I like just because I've seen it in so many other places, and that's for me in terms of, you know, trying to create something that's maybe a bit more unique than what's going on out there, in terms of like there are sites out there that post 10, 12, 20 like fact posts, like 40 posts a day on things, you know. There's just that's too much volume, and I don't think people can really, you know, process that anymore, and I don't think they want to. So for me, it's a case of, okay, well, maybe there's something I heard that I liked. Like, for example, it doesn't really fit in with what I would normally post, but I heard that Solange Knowles song, and that's a great tune. But I decided not to put it up because I know, like, I don't think Beyonce's sister needs a leg up from me, you know? It's that kind of thing. So it's like, but that also creates a narrative or you know, a flow of music on your own blog that maybe you don't see everywhere else. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. So sometimes there are things that I don't necessarily, you know, I like it, but maybe I don't love it enough to go there, or maybe it's being covered elsewhere. And the biggest problem then, I guess, when you're talking about bands that you've supported, and then, you know, it hasn't happened that often really, but there are occasions where you might not like their second album. So what do you do with that? You know, might I like their debut? So what do you do with that? So, you know, those are questions for us, but not for the musicians, you know. So that's kind of a hard one for us. But
what about the flip side to that? What about, are you going to be enticed by exclusivity if someone says, I have a remix, you can premiere it on your site?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's nice to do those kind of things every now and again. And it's nice, and that feeds into the whole, you know, making sure that, you know, you're doing something a little bit different. You don't want to just do it for the sake of it, you know. If it's good, then yeah, for sure, I will definitely feature it.
What about everyone else? Are you going to feel alienated if Niall gets the premiere and gets the exclusive, and you have to repost from him the next day?
Yeah, I'm really jealous of Niall.
Yeah, we're well used to it at this stage. I think exclusivity is one thing, but I mean, at the end of the day, you probably are eventually going to follow up and support that act as well the day after, whenever that exclusivity period might end. And it's nice to nice to have, but it's not something that I don't think I seek it out from any of the PRs or promoters or any of those. And I don't know whether you guys go personally seeking it, but generally it's for me, it's a band might come along and say, well, look, listen, we have this album or EP, would you be interested in streaming it? We'll give you a 24-hour exclusive before we send it on to anyone else. And you're kind of like, oh, that's cool, it's really nice. And because it doesn't actually involve really for us to critically assess it, we could just kind of say, right, well, here's an exclusive, is this band, here's where you can listen to it. It's a nice thing for us, but it's not something that we as a site would aim for or go looking for. I mean, we just want to just stick out as much coverage as we can and see what happens. But after that, exclusivity means nothing. I mean, it means nothing to me anyway.
I think it's all a community, really. Like, there shouldn't be, and it happens with bands and it happens with record labels and venues and things like that. I think everyone really should be helping each other. If I see something exclusive go up on one of the lads' sites, it's like, brilliant, I get to listen to it. You know, that really should be the key, you know. And I have posted links on my blog to other sites to say this is, you know, streaming exclusively there, because I think there's enough holding kind of music back to add another chink to, you know, to the armor or whatever. I just think the whole point that it's there to be listened to is amazing if it's good music, you know. So yeah, I think I suppose maybe there's a little bit of jealousy, but it'll be respect. Like, it's absolutely brilliant. You know, that's out there in the world, and now people are able to listen to it because of another thing. I don't see why it should be any other way, really.
We need more bloggers like you out there, Gary. Any more questions?
Is there a guide that you would suggest for a band to find the right?
Sorry, Phil. Hang on a second.
Is there a guide that is out there for bands that's good to find the right bloggers to connect with to begin with that you know of? Any suggestions?
Yeah, the Hype Machine is a really good resource. It is no, because you know, like I was saying earlier on, if you're like an indie band or a rock band, you can find those kind of genres or tags on the Hype Machine because they're all there. So you can kind of find what bloggers would be more likely to be into the kind of stuff that the band would be into or be making. So if you're making electronic music, there's a lot of electronic music blogs out there. If you're making folk music, similarly. So yeah, Hype Machine is a good one. There are lots of others as well, but I'm not allowed to talk about it because he's on stage. There's one, Elbows as well, is a really good one. It's more about like finding, you know, a good example would be, say, you know, if your band is a bit more like a bluesy rock band, you could look up stuff like the White Stripes or Jack White, you know, that kind of way. Just like give a general gauge for those kind of things. And there's loads of those kind of music blog aggregators out there. Some better than others. Hype Machine is the original one, so probably the best place to start, because they're a bit more stringent about who they let in. It means that maybe you're getting to the right person rather than just like a catch-all. Like there's, I don't know how many music blogs. Does anybody know how many music blogs there are in existence? Like, you know, I mean, like it's definitely a lot more than 850. You know, at least 4. We found 4 people in a room, and they're all bloggers. So
I think you can also do it as in, if a band know they sound like a band or influenced by a band, they can simply Google interview with that band or even blog with that band and then work from there. But yeah, go to the Hype Machine.
So for every band, I think there's so many all-encompassing sites. I mean, you should always be submitting everything and put it under the noses of Goldenplex, State.ie, AU, Drop D, Entertainment.ie, Hot Press. I mean, they should all be part of your submission process anyway, because I mean, the amount of emails I get asking me, would you be interested in reviewing it? Well, of course we're interested in reviewing it, but just send it in anyway, and if we can get to it, we will get to it. Put it under our noses, make it available, let us know about who you are, what you're doing, and then if we can get to it, we will. Because we want to cover all this music, and that's for like my type of blog/site that covers just about everything. You know, the guys are a bit more selective in what they're going to cover, and they're genre-based and things like that. Look, we kind of try to cover everything as long as it's Irish. So if you're an Irish band, there's no point in asking us, do we want to cover it? Of course we want to cover it. If we can, we will. Just put it under our noses, stick it in my inbox, and if I can get to it, or if I can get someone to cover it, we will. That's basically
Don't most of you have blog roles on the side of your sites as well, links to other bloggers?
Yeah, I've got a page that's just sites and magazines, and it's just a big list of all the different types of bloggers, stuff that I like, would read myself and enjoy reading, and it's just a big link list, and it's the same. You've got a couple of big lists.
There's a links page on mine as well.
Could you give us the URLs of your blogs? Because it was very fast at the beginning.
Goldenplex.com.
Mine's Niler9, NILLER9.com. So Niall, NIALLER. I'll give you a card afterwards when you want a card.
Mine is thepointofeverything.com. It's all one word. I think all those words are pretty easy to spell. Is all.
TheGmanWorld.com. What have we just signed up for?
I think to reiterate sort of what they said is, find a couple of acts that you feel copacetic with, or that even that you've played with, and search them, and then see who's writing about those acts, and then say, you know, my act is better than those guys that you wrote about. More questions?
Yep.
How's it going? The thing that always fascinates me about the industry nowadays is that people are focusing more on blogs and emails and technology, but people are sort of forgetting about, you know, throwing great parties and becoming a communal effect by like this band played at that great night, and you know, you mention a band's name and you think of like, you know, a great buzz that's happening at the moment. Do you think that's more important for bands nowadays to be thinking about emails and blogs, or focusing on, you know, throwing great nights and throwing great gigs and throwing great record launches? And do you think that blogs will always be like this and will grow and grow and grow, like you were saying about the people talking about the death of the blog already? Is that going to last?
Well, I think that's the main thing. The band has to concentrate on being a good band. That's full stop. You know, they have to have good gigs, because although it might not seem like it, they're not behind a computer 24/7. Like I've on a Saturday night, I've often gone to 3 gigs, ran around the place like a lunatic, you know, and it is all about community. And I think that's the whole thing they have to remember. Like, bands have to help each other. I think the more positivity you can stick back into the world, the better, because it has become a bit of a thing, I don't know, in society, it's really cool to knock people, you know, and hammer them, and sure, what good does it do? Like, my blog is personal, so why should I waste my time writing about a band that I don't like? Only me, you know, that's a million other people may like them, when I could write and give all my energies and positive energies to a band I do like. And if they're playing with other bands and they're all similar and they're good as well, well then I kind of immerse myself. Like down in Cork, there's a kind of a, I don't know, is it a scene is the only word I could think of, or a community. There's a few bands together who all record in the same studios and stuff. And oddly enough, they're all brilliant, you know, because they're playing off of each other. And if you're recording in the same studio with a great band, it's going to rub off on you, and you're at least going to push each other, you know. Like, there's bands like Trumpets of Jericho and the Altered Hours and stuff down in Cork. They're incredible, and it's great to see that, and it's very exciting to be part of things like that, even if you are just a blogger. Like, you know, I haven't played a note on their albums, like, you know, so what the hell importance do I have when it comes down to it in the great grand scheme of things? But it's great to be part of a kind of a community like that, where I can go see these bands regularly, and then I can see the bands that they like. And yeah, so that's the most important part. When it all comes down to it, who cares about anything else, you know? Put all the music together and put on good gigs and throw parties, and yeah, because then it'll find its way to blogs anyway. But then you might as well send us an email and let us know they're going on as well. So,
like, if you're going to organise these big events, I mean, it's word of mouth, and it's one fast way of getting it out is the internet. And for us anyway, I mean, we put it on our blog, but then we're also putting it on Facebook and Twitter, and they're getting retweets and they're getting shared and stuff like that. And that's how you get people in the door to start a buzz and to actually create a community about it, is to get the people in the door. And that's the hardest part, is actually selling the tickets or getting people to come down to an event. Like, Niall ran a brilliant series of gigs there, minimum, maximum DIY events, and they're the kind of things that all bands should be try to get involved in and promote themselves, because there is a buzz about those things. And Niall's behind that as well, because he can create the buzz through the blog, because people trust his opinion of the music that he's going to put out there. So those kind of events, and there's plenty of them around the country, like Hard Working Class Heroes, to get involved in and be a part of these events, create a buzz for yourself, and go from there, see what happens.
I think just the idea of, you know, having a life-defining gig or a career-defining gig for a band, like, you build up to it. You can't, like, release an EP and expect 1,000 people in the door, or, you know, to be asked to play the O2 supporting someone, you know. I mean, you build up to it. I mean, I'm thinking of The Galaxy. The Galaxy played the first Hard Working Class Heroes 10 years ago as a different band. Their band broke up, like, or they didn't break up, they kind of morphed into The Galaxy, but The Galaxy formed about 2008, I think. They didn't release their album until last year. And then they had their career-defining gig last month, I think, at Electric Picnic. You know, I mean, just everybody wanted to go see them, and I think everybody who did go see them had like the time of their lives. I know I did. You know, I mean, it's class seeing the band evolve. You know, you can't expect to be playing at 2 o'clock at night at Electric Picnic unless you kind of work towards it.
I think you maybe should have mentioned what you do yourself as well. He's in White Collar Boy, and White Collar Boy do a lot of, every fortnight they do gigs in the Pygmalion and DJ sets and stuff like that. And it's kind of what's been really interesting in terms of what we were saying with the minimum maximum stuff that we were doing for the last month. It's been really nice to take the blog and kind of put it in a real world space and seeing how that, like, changes things, or like what it means. And thankfully people do actually come to those things, which is really nice. But yeah, I mean, like, what you guys are doing is really interesting, because you are gaining some influence in terms of by putting on gigs, by asking people, by creating a community, you know, and that's a really valuable thing. And if those events weren't good, people wouldn't go to them. So it's another way of, you know, for you guys and for anyone else who was thinking of it, you know, you can start your own night. You can, you know, if you're finding that there's nowhere else for you to play, you can get a gallery space, you know, all these kind of things. There's so many things you can do, and it's not just about blogs, yeah, for sure. But like that's what we're about. But certainly you can build a buzz in a different way by putting on like a rave somewhere, or you know, doing a BYOB gig here or there. So there's so many different ways, and it all feeds into it. And you know, I think it's important to remember that like. There are so many different avenues here. You know, we'll be talking about radio tomorrow and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, we're just one facet of it.
Thank you, everyone, and a big hand for these guys.